The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday, another Monday in the Riv. Another great Monday to talk about everything that is the Riv and otherwise.
And otherwise. Hey, we got some road closures that we want to announce.
Yeah, multiple. Like you can't tell that. I mean, every place I turn in Fall River, they're digging something up. It's like, you know, there's your tax dollars at work.
Exactly. A section of President Avenue Rotary will be reduced to one lane starting the first week of October. This is the first week of October. As a matter of fact, today is October 1st. This work is for the Cress Brook Drainage Project. There will be an overnight closure of Route 24 on-ramp in the Rotary, currently scheduled for October 11th. Also, the intersection of Forest and Middle Streets. Forest Street is the street that's right behind St. Anne's Hospital. And Middle Street will be closed to all traffic starting October 2nd. The section of Middle Street from South Main to Forest will be closed except for emergency vehicle access. Seek alternate routes. I'm telling you, how many times we left here and we go Oak Grove Avenue and it's closed.
You know, and the thing is, I don't know how anybody who ever drives in a Rotary at President Avenue didn't know there was something coming. They get these gigantic, gigantic pipes.
Yeah.
In the Rotary itself. Like, what do you think? Did they think those were decorative pipes? I don't know. If you couldn't tell something was coming, you're not very observant. But hey, you know.
Hey, we're still on the Kavanaugh situation.
Yeah.
I mean, this is getting to be absolutely ridiculous.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, I guess the Herald News out of local women's organization questioned the impact of the Kavanaugh hearing. And you know something? They're talking about it's a cultural movement, quote unquote, by Valerie Bassett, executive director of the Women's Fund. And if they're going to worry about coming forward, you know, and you know, this is baloney. Today, in today's society, there's no hesitation to come forward, whether you have it, whether you have proof or not. The Kavanaugh hearing, you know. Allegations are enough now. You are guilty until proven innocent today, in spite of the due process constitutional guarantees we have. People wait 30 years, and I'll tell you something. These things are not supposed to be, they're not supposed to be adjudicated in the court of public opinion. You stick politicians into anything, and now they'll screw it up. This is a political forum for them. I don't care. They try to say how concerned they are, and I got attacked in the elevator by two, and I changed my mind, Flaky said. But, you know, it doesn't belong there. And I'll tell you, I don't know who's right, but I know it happened a very, very long time ago, and there's no corroborative evidence about anything. And this entire movement is to allow people to ruin people's lives on mere allegations with no corroborative evidence. This belongs in court. If she's got the evidence, Kavanaugh should suffer the consequences. If Kavanaugh is correct, well, these were groundless allegations. But I'm going to tell you something. It's not that I don't believe women should come forward. And I'm going to tell you, I have the utmost respect for the women that came forward in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 60s, in spite of the fact that in that era, defense attorneys could basically rip apart the character of the woman who brought an allegation. But contrary to all our movie stars who slept their way to the top, and then 20 years later, when they're multimillionaires, are all being fawned over because they're so brave. The people who were brave were the people who stood up and pressed charges when they didn't have a dime. They knew they were going to get eviscerated in court by the other attorney, and they still had enough courage and character to get up. Those are the women that we should be honoring. Those should be the icons that we look at. Not some Hollywood star who comes in 30 years after something happens and blames everybody and everybody loses their job. This is absolute political crap, and people are using this, and now they're concerned about women being able to come forward. Today, there's no hesitation. They come forward without proof. And in the old days, there were women who actually lost cases because of the character assassination that took place for women on the stand. And do I condone that? Do I think that's right? Absolutely not. But I'll tell you what, I got the utmost respect for the women who came forward that weren't rich, that weren't powerful, and who didn't wait 25 or 30 years to come forward and made sure they had their life all straightened out now. They got to where they want to be. As a wise man once said, you can judge a person's character on how they treat people who can do nothing for them. So I don't have, this is, to me, you know, this flies in the face of everything America's about. You know, you got a justice system. Let the justice, you stick politicians in the middle of anything and you got a horror show.
And that's exactly what this is. This
is a horror show.
A great disgrace.
It's a national disgrace.
Yes, it is.
It's a national disgrace, and everybody's jumping on it. Now, if you can get together a group that creates a voting bloc, the politicians will kiss your ring every time they see you. This is ridiculous, okay? This does not belong in a court of public opinion.
And here's
it belongs in a court of law. If there's evidence, convict. If there's no evidence, acquit.
Yep. Now, here's the thing, though. You've got another FBI investigation because Flake flaked out.
Yeah.
Okay? And because he was attacked.
Yeah.
Or confronted.
And he has no courage of his own convictions,
right.
and no character, because
right.
he's a politician. Just like we always talk about the council. You traipse in the kids, even though it's got nothing to do with them. You traipse them in, or you traipse in a bunch of people, and everybody on the city council's Coleone shrink the BB, the size of BBs. And this is what happens. This is they make everything into a political process. This does not belong in the court of public opinion.
No, it doesn't.
It belongs in the criminal justice system.
But you know, Gene Fox, who is a member of the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women, said, one of the things we have to remember is in a traumatic moment, memory is selective. Really?
Yeah. And that's a fact.
Well,
I mean, all you got to do is ask any police officer or even anybody that's confronted anybody in an emergency situation. I can say that because when I pulled up the fires and there was 16 people yelling at me, 16 different things.
Yeah. And
none of them had it right. It was all from their perspective. And when these people suffer trauma, is their memory accurate? That's why it is absolutely a necessity. And I said, I have nothing but respect for those women who came forward in the 70s, in the 60s, in the 50s. When you went to court and you made an accusation in those days, they would eviscerate your character. If you did anything wrong in your entire life, even if you were raped, the rapist normally got off. Is that right? Absolutely not. Today's society has evolved to the point, but now we've swung the pendulum 180 degrees the opposite way. Now people's lives can be ruined with mere allegations. And that's politics, but we know that's politics, CJ.
But that's also happening. That's also happening. You got people who are, they're sick and tired of their boyfriend fooling around on them or whatever. So what do they say? He hit me. Domestic abuse charges. Boom. You're in court. Yeah.
And I've had police officers tell me that sometimes that somebody with a restraining order, even if they didn't violate it, their spouse would call the police on a weekend just to have them incarcerated for the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
So they couldn't go out and party. So look, are any of these things right? No. But what's even more wrong is how pathetic this nation has become because the politicians stick their fingers in anything. You let them stick their finger in anything, and they can't, especially in an election year. Mid-cycle election, it's become a circus, especially because of that. You know, and they all love microphones, you know, and that's the problem. The politicians in this country, they screw everything up. They've made this a political issue. It shouldn't. Even the wars. The military fights wars, and in every war, once the politicians got involved, they screwed it up. After the Second World War, George Patton said, we've got the troops, we've got the men, let's take care of Russia now. And the politicians said no, and look how long we had a Cold War with Russia. We're still having a problem with Russia.
Yep.
After the Korean War, when MacArthur was pushing the Chinese back and they drove them across the Yalu River, he said, let's go into China and deal with them now while we have the troops and the equipment and we're here. And, of course, Truman said he fired them. And after one of the most brilliant invasions in the world when he went in Incheon. So, but that's it. You give politicians the power to do anything. All they know how to do is screw it up and make it a political exercise. All they're looking for is votes in their hometowns and votes in their countries, and they don't want to upset anybody. And this is a travesty. As I said, if she's right and she has evidence, he should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, and he doesn't belong on the bench.
Did you hear Flakes and Coons yesterday on 60 Minutes?
I had to shut it off.
He actually said the only reason why he voted the way he did was because he's not running for re-election. That's the only reason why he voted the way he did.
Well, that's the thing. They all get courage when they've gotten enough out of the system.
Right.
You know, he's going to go get it. You know, somebody will give him a job somewhere. They've politicked their way into it. We know when Billy Bolger left the Senate, he walked into a $300,000 position at UMass Dartmouth. He got a $200,000 pay raise as soon as he walked into the job. They all walk away and get these big-time jobs when they leave politics. But while they're in politics, the only thing that they care about is being reelected. They can maintain their monarch status. And this is terrible. I mean, look, they're worried about the impact of women. Women have far more support from all segments, even the male, contrary to popular belief. You know, if they tried to do in a court to a victim what they did 20 years ago or 30 years ago in court, no one would tolerate it, male or female. But they make this into a public opinion issue. And as I said, I have very little respect for those people that came forward after they made their millions and millions of dollars and said, oh, I did it consensually, but it wasn't really consensually because he had power over me. Well, I know women personally who were approached for sexual favors to move on. You know what they said to the person? You know what they said, and it starts with an F and ends with a K, you, and they would rather go out and work 3 jobs than do it. And I have the utmost respect for those people. I have the utmost respect for women who suffered vicious attacks when they were on the stand after being abused or attacked. Those are the women that should be the icons of this movement. But we're always supposed to have justice. And you know, I don't know who's right or wrong, but I know one thing: the process is wrong. The process is a public opinion process, and that's not what this belongs to. We're talking about a criminal act, and it should not be tried in the court of public opinion.
Well, what was interesting was Coons made it, I believe it was Coons who made it very clear that Maryland does not have a statute of limitations on this. So this could still be brought up as a criminal charge.
Yeah, and if nothing is done, I wouldn't be surprised if them that tell her to try to go. But the fact is, from what I've seen, there's absolutely no evidence.
No, it's a he said, she said.
Yeah, it's a he said, she said, and And this is the whole thing. And what it is a he said, she said in the court of public opinion in an election year, and you allowed the politicians to turn this into a circus. You know,
as I've heard from numerous political commentators and news organizations, they all said the same thing. This is a he said, she said. And the problem is people are seeing this from their own perspective. The people who are saying she's right and she's credible and everything she says is true, like the Democrats and like the women's movement, then you've got the Republicans and the people on the Republican side saying, no, 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 Judge Kavanaugh's right. He's got proof. He's got evidence. I mean, let's be real. Judge Kavanaugh has journals going back to 1982.
Yeah, well, I guess he had a plan for his future. But the thing is, as I said, this is it's gone from the ridiculous to the sublime now. Because the reality is what that Hawaiian senator said, Hirono. Basically, all women are telling the truth and all men are liars.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is an absolute absurdity.
Well,
and I mean, this is what, you're going to try a case with that attitude? You're actually bringing that in front of a body, not a judicial body, but a political body. And you're going to try a case with people that have that. She couldn't be picked on any jury in the world.
No, not with that type of attitude.
I mean, there's not a jury in the world in a criminal case or even a civil case that any lawyer in their right mind would put her on a jury. I mean, it's ludicrous. I mean, it defies human logic. And to
politics.
see this is just appalling. It's appalling.
This is politics. There's no logic in politics.
Yeah, it's appalling. It's appalling because, look, this is a he said, she said.
And
if she had a case, she should have brought the case when it happened. There would have been more evidence. And who knows what would have happened. But like I said, when they show up 25, 30 years later and they don't have not even one witness. I mean, I can see if somebody didn't do it and didn't bring it up, but they had 4 or 5 witnesses that saw it and now are willing to come forward because they're having an attack of conscience. But I mean, there's absolutely there's no evidence at all. And even if there was, this is not the forum to have it. And the politicians are making as much hay as they can. I mean, just look at Sheldon Whitehouse. You look at one station, they were making fun of him because he sounded like a buffoon because he didn't know what boofer was, and he missed, and it was like they were literally laughing at him on one station, and then you look at the local stations and Sheldon was asking, Sheldon's wonderful, Sheldon's this and that. Politics is all about image. It's not, the reality is what you create. There's no thing about reality.
Here's an interesting, John DePietro?
Yeah.
From, what is it, Pro AM, I think it is, or whatever, one of the talk show. He's got on his website the outcuts of Sheldon Whitehouse's yearbook. Yeah. Of Sheldon Whitehouse in a toga. Yeah. And him at a keg drinking.
Yeah. Well,
I guess he liked beer, right?
Listen, you show me somebody, male or female, that didn't do some idiotic thing during their high school and college years or during their youth. Forget it. Even if they didn't go to high school or college. Anybody that says they didn't make a lot of mistakes on the way, they were probably brought up in a cell and they never left the cell because that's, it's ridiculous. You want to go back into high school yearbooks, and like I said, you got Sheldon in a toga, and everything is taken, is taken and twisted out of context now. And the other thing that really disturbed me is that the emasculation of men. They're upset because Kavanaugh was upset.
Right.
Really? You wouldn't get upset if somebody just destroyed your wife and your family and assassinated your character based on word, totally uncorroborated. And like I said, it doesn't belong there. This is we're talking about him engaging in a criminal act. Yeah, it should be in a place where it belongs, in a courtroom. But give it to politicians, and there's no way they will not. And now they spin the world that they want it. They want everybody to be neutral gender. They want everybody not to have 1 ounce of masculinity in them. They want to emasculate everybody because they got upset because he got mad. I'm surprised. They're lucky they didn't get somebody from the Riv. They would have got up and threw. They would have got up and threw a chair at somebody.
Exactly. But you know, the thing is that one of the things they said was going to happen if they gave the FBI another week was that people would start coming out of the woodwork with more allegations. And guess what? People are starting to come out of the woodwork now with allegations. You have somebody who was in school with Kavanaugh way back when, who said that when he drank, he got belligerent and angry. Does that mean he raped somebody?
Does that narrow it down? I know a lot of people who were nasty drunks, have been nasty drunks since they were, you know, since they began drinking. And there are other people that get mellow when they drink. So he's a belligerent drunk? Well, guess what? So are a lot of people. But I know a lot of belligerent drunks that most of them never raped anybody or groped anybody.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, this is, like I said, it goes from the ridiculous to the sublime. I mean, all this stuff is, what they're trying to do is paint a characterization of him so he doesn't get, it's got nothing to do with facts. And unfortunately, when you go in front of a court, you have to present facts. And,
really? Facts?
And the politicians don't work on facts.
No, they don't.
As a matter of fact, they have a PhD in manipulating facts,
piled high and deep,
and
baby,
distorting them to fit their own agendas. And that's why this is hey, look, you wave all your flags you want. I will be on the line with you waving a flag in honor of any woman that brought a case forward in the 60s or 70s or even today. Not a rich woman, not a woman that's got a lot of connections, a woman that had the courage to get up there, bring up and bring some evidence, and if they're right, they're right. Those are the courageous women. The women that got up not in 2018. The women who filed charges against their abusers or their rapists when they knew that the deck was stacked against them in court.
You know, and here's the funny part about it. One law for the rich and the poor again. One law for the elected, one law for the unelected. If you file a sexual harassment complaint against a congressman or a senator, a U.S. congressman or U.S. senator, you're required to take a cooling off period, which I think is 60 days, before you can file anything. And then you file it, and they don't do any investigations. They offer you a payoff to go away. Yeah. And they pay you off, and it's costing the taxpayers money.
And they don't prosecute them.
And they don't prosecute anyone.
Remember the White House page incidents?
Right.
How many times did we see White House page incidents? As we said, we got these people pontificating during an election year, and you look at them, and everybody fails to realize that they don't even live by our laws.
Right.
No wonder they don't want this to go to a courtroom, because the reality is congressmen don't have to abide by the law. They have their own health care systems. They don't have to worry about health care. They don't have to worry about a pension. They don't have to worry about getting paid. They don't even have to worry about, they're like diplomats.
Right.
They're monarchs. And the fact is that they live in a different world. And if you don't think this country is a tale of two cities, the rich and the poor, just look at the way these cases are handled for people, you know, and you can never, ever. The rule should be, if it was an act that belongs in the courtroom, it belongs in the courtroom.
That's
As a matter of fact, if you file something, even in a labor perspective, it's got to go to the appropriate venue. You can't take something to court that should go in front of the Civil Service Commission, because when you go to court, the judge is going to throw you out. He's going to say, "What are you doing here? This is a civil service matter." Or this is a arbitration matter. You can't just pick the forum and the venue that you want because it favors your political positions, or it gives you face time so you can you know, spew your political agenda because there's an election coming up. It's, like I said, this is a travesty. Am I saying that he's innocent? No. Am I saying that she's telling a lie? No. But all I know is that nobody can prove anything. And how do you expect anybody?
And that's the big problem.
You know, and that's the problem. And if you go there and you know, if you file a complaint against somebody with the police and you have no witnesses and then the other person says no and there's no witnesses, how far do you think that case goes?
Doesn't go too
You
far.
can't prove anything.
Right.
You know? I mean, if there's absolutely no proof, and, you know, like I said, you know, you want to screw something up, give it to the politicians. I'm telling you, it's just horrible.
As they say, if you want to see them screw it up, give them the Sahara Desert. They'll be
That's right. They'll run out of sand. I tell you, it's terrible. But
and again, you got these people pontificating, as you said, and they're being held to a different standard.
yeah, and the power of positive suggestion, as you said. It's like, you know, subliminal messages. They said on TV, you watch it, and they got these subliminal messages being planted in your brain. Well, guess what? What do you think that message is? Oh, you know, if we delay this a week, there will be a lot of other people coming out. There will be a lot of they just keep that mantra, and then somebody says, well, you know, I'll get my 15 minutes of fame.
That's it.
Well, he drank a lot, and he was a belligerent drunk. Well, I know about probably 300 or 400 of those. So, you know.
It gets to be interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's.
And as everyone says, this is a national disgrace.
It is. It is. And I'm imagining with other countries, when they watch this circus, what they must be thinking. They must be saying, "Oh my God!" And it's like. And these people are trying to make us run our government the way their governments run.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the irony of the thing. There we are. We've gotten, you know, the United States is always a couple of hundred years behind the times. What we're doing in a lot of countries is we're doing what Britain did when they wanted to make the entire world British during their colonial period. As a matter of fact, Rudyard Kipling actually wrote a piece called The White Man's Burden. And it was Britain's duty to make all the world British. And that's what we're trying to do. And you know something? They look at this circus and they go, you want us to have a government like this? Especially in the Middle East. I mean, my God, where you need a dictator to keep them under control. Imagine having this circus in Iraq or Iran or Afghanistan. I mean, and yet we try to impose our perspective on other people. Well, you know, some people really don't want a democracy. I mean, why haven't we invaded Britain to try to get rid of their constitutional monarchy? Because they're our ally? And they don't have any oil or poppies? I don't know. But it seems kind of fishy to me.
Yep, and there's no more British Empire, so.
That's right. But it is still Great Britain.
It's still
They're great. They're still great.
They're still great, that's true. Hey, what's this crap that Westport's worried about casinos and pot concerns? Because they want more police and fire because of it.
Well, you know,
Selectman Chairman Shana Schufelt recommended the town honor this past fiscal year's request from both departments to add to their personnel. It looks as though the police and fire department, respectively, might add to their ranks next fiscal year. Don't say it's because of the casino, because guess what? You're in Westport, the casino's in Tiverton.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, if you're putting a pot manufacturing plant or, you know, growing plant or whatever you want to call it, or a pot shop in your town, that's a decision you make.
But, you know, you look at this and you go, look at the absurdity of this. You want to put more police and more fire because there's a casino in another place. I mean, what are they, you think that the arsonists are going to have a convention at the casino and run over to Westport and torch Westport? Or you're going to have crime? And as far as the pot is concerned, if that will create crime, why did you authorize it?
Well, actually,
and you actually believe that these people that are smoking recreational pot, you know, granted, what's happened? They're going to be people driving high and stuff, but nobody cares. They want to make money.
They actually don't think it's because of them. They said, we have the Tiverton Casino that just opened up, and we have marijuana establishments close to us, Schofield said, stressing the need for public safety personnel. I mean, get your head out of your
Just
backside.
say you want to increase the size of your department.
That's it.
Stop making ridiculous reasons for everything. Well, then again, she's a politician.
That's it. And that's all they know how to do.
Hey, stay angry, everybody.
And we'll see you on Wednesday.
If this doesn't get you angry, but remember, don't show your anger. They'll crucify you like they did with Kavanaugh. You can't get angry.
Yep.
Look at this. I'm angry.
We'll see you on Wednesday.